Peace, 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 peace. I always hope the mic is thing. How are you all doing today? So, I want to share another story. Um, and this is about me not holding fear of other people's children. I mean, this is about, let's start again. Peace, 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 peace. Hope you're doing well today. And continue with our conversation. I'm going to talk about not holding others' fear that my children are being properly educated and how they thrive. Ooh, that did quite a lot. Okay. Um, okay. So, along with a lot of ministers, I also have a lot of teachers in my family. My mommy's aunt, Laura, the teacher, peace be upon her. My grandma Eunice is a teacher, peace be upon her. And there's others that even if that wasn't their profession, they were still teaching. My mother, although that's not her profession, nor by trade, she was a computer programmer by trade, but she's been a teacher her entire. Um, Even with her being in stages of dementia, every once in a while she'll say something to me where I'm like, um, "Oh, I hope that came into the camera. Did y'all get to see that butterfly? It was dope." Okay, so yesterday I talked about raising our children in a different spiritual space than our families were used to, and the fear that they felt about that, um, and even the adjustment that they did regarding that. But today I want to talk about their education. So I was educated in public school, and like I said to you, I have educators in my family on both sides, both my mother and father's side, and both of my parents have in church have for years taught Sunday school, led book discussions, all those kind of things. When it was time to educate my children, I shared earlier that I'm a teacher by trade and profession. And I graduated college and taught in public school, in elementary school. When my family started, among other jobs, I also subbed from all grades, from elementary all the way through high school. And then when my children showed up, I founded and ran a homeschool co-op. And so, um, with other families, all those things, it was a beautiful community offering. Um, my father came to teach science there, some physics. That's the second part. Uh, and so, so there's a lot of education, a very long-standing educational uh, practice in my family. Um, Even when it comes to higher education, my parents both went to college. Uh, Daddy's part of the wolf pack, and my mother, behold the green and the gold. So my children, and one more, and my mother was thoroughly involved in the PTA at my school. I think I said in one of the earlier videos that I could hear her keys. Her keys were very heavy. She was doing things for everybody at church, at school, so her keys were very heavy. And they made a certain music, and I remember hearing her in my middle school history class, hearing her come up the hall. She wasn't talking. It wasn't her shoes. It was her keys. And I jumped up, ran to the door because it was her. But she had been involved in somewhere in the universe of my education, the entirety of my high school career, from elementary to middle school. And in high school, she had taken a job at a middle school in my district as a career counselor. So all those things, all that investment in education. And then, I get grown and say, I'm going to educate these children differently. So being in the school system, I remember one day after I had a child either spin around in the floor or at dismissal or had the principal stand outside my room and like, this is a female principal, wrestle a child to the ground. I could see her slip, her dress, everything. And I was like, I don't want my children in this space. Um, but when I started homeschooling, I started out with daycare, daycare that had, an educational lean. I'm looking at the lean in this video. The earth is like it's got a gradual slope. It's like mountainous, but they all look like this. They have a gangster lean. Um, but I'm sorry. So I didn't want children. I didn't want to raise my children in spaces where I was teaching. And when I started the homeschool co-op, I started out with a daycare that had a lot of educational things, all of the early preschool and kindergarten skills. And I did that for about maybe 6 months to a year. It wasn't very long. I feel like somewhere in that span. And then when I only did that for about two babies. My oldest, because I didn't have another one, and another child. And when that stopped, when she got a little older, it was like, okay, and not much older because, by three, she was ready to go. I was like, we got to do something. So, uh, with some other families, our family uh, decided that if we were going to go far, we're going to go together, and not go fast and alone and fizzle out. So, uh, one of my dear sisters, who is also an educator, her son, my children, and one other child were in the co-op at the very beginning. And so she would write these beautiful lesson plans about like different continents in Africa. I feel like there's 30 to 40, even though I know there's 54 um, countries. She she has I have these beautiful curriculum on my computer that she did with dance and food and rituals and geography and stories, just magnificent, magnificent. Um, and to this day, she's a marvelous educator. So Kimmy, that's for you. But with all of those things that were being done, as the children got older and it expanded from those five, uh, oh, and one more, and another little boy, Grandma Catherine's grandson, uh, that when all of those, when all of those, he's out here, he's out here, he's out here, he's out here somewhere, but he's here. Um, that as the children got older and it was more than just the five of them, and there were 16 to 17, then we had to continue building out how we were going to do this and what curriculum would support. And at the beginning, I was writing curriculum for everybody. I was writing lesson plans for everybody's child. So me and my infant son would sit at the apartment we were at, that one of the parents had let us use for 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours every Sunday, mm, more like 4 to 6 hours every Sunday, and write lesson plans. So all of this work going into this. And my father uh, was concerned that I couldn't scale the business big enough to make good financial money. And my husband's father, my father-in-law, was concerned that I had enough education that I could be out making real money and children could be in daycare. And, I didn't have to be at home. And so um, the thing that I learned as we were moving forward was I had a sister friend who was working at one of the local universities, and she and her husband were both working, but all of her money went to childcare. And so by the time we had three children under the age of five, I was like, I could work somewhere else, but all the money will go to childcare. It will not enrich our house at all, as opposed to enriching our children and the community around us in this way and earning, a little bit of money. Um, and my father's concern was that it wasn't going to be Like I said, scalable. I wouldn't be able to make it big enough to make a substantial amount of money. He was concerned about the curriculum. I showed him the MK Asante books that we were using that these little children were reading and learning um, from the books of a college professor. And so, even with that, I was like, I know this is the right path. This is where they're supposed to be. And what I'm grateful for is their education, along with their spiritual walk, has made them some of the most confident young Black men and women. They're not men and women yet, but some of them are in their teens. So, young adults. Um, uh, and there are things that I know I dealt with as a young girl that I've not seen my children deal with. Like there are things that it's still going to be in the water in the West that they struggle with or that they're challenged with. But their sense of identity is not one of those things. Their um, belief that they are intelligent is not one of those things. And because they are in these spaces that they started at home with us and that they continue to move forward into other spaces like IA Educational Institute, which, as I've mentioned before, is now Each One Teach 10, into the Sankofa. Did you listen to that butterfly? It was right here. The Sankofa Homeschool Co-op. Uh, they've been very well supported, and they don't have any doubt about their intelligence. And then to have friends who have moved forward in those same organizations with them has been monumental. So there are a few things that they've said that have just blown, you know, my mind. And I'm going to share one thing and one experience. So when my oldest born went to Aya, she was in school with Evelyn Dudiemi, and she and Baba Bao Dudiemi run Ibole Bole Institute. So these are some of the same homeschool places that I mentioned in one of the earlier things, but homeschool resources. Uh, but in that class, my child was 11 in middle school, and she was taking Algebra 1, and she was having a hard time. And I remember because of the Maginolios, because of Mama Evelyn, no one made her feel like you're not doing this fast, or, you know, uh, you need to come on with it, or, we're going to move on and I'll come back to you. All things I've heard in public school education for different reasons. There's an inordinate amount of stress on public school teachers when you have 30 students and 30 different modes of learning and everybody needs something. So I'm not poo-pooing on the teachers. It's rough. Uh, but the response to her from the students was she got weepy and felt like she couldn't get it. The response from the students was, "It's okay, you're going to get it." For more than one student. And I was like, I've never seen a space like this where the founders of the school and the teacher in the class had created such an atmosphere of communal learning and where everyone feels like it is our collective education that needs to happen here. It was marvelous. Um, it was marvelous. And even in she came to mind, so I'm going to share it. Uh, Pawahuri Slia, run by Aina and Jadeka, had a class on womanhood that one of my daughters took. And it was marvelous. It was a place to celebrate her menstrual cycle, celebrate her body and her development, celebrate the gift of being a woman. And that is not what my sex ed class felt like in fifth grade, or sixth, or seventh, or eighth, or eighth. So just marvelous, just marvelous. On the other side, there was when the children are first. And what I love is like even their ignorant jokes are so doggone smart. It's marvelous. Um, the things that they say with their friends, the people that they cite when they're talking to their friends. Who would expect some high schoolers and middle schoolers to make jokes citing the words of Nana Fannie Lou or Nana Ella Baker or Nana Omawali or just so many, so many. But I appreciate that. One of the things that my children said um, after being in class, I believe, with Bob Woods and Magic Volume, was when it comes to there's so many times that many of our warrior scholars and geniuses, poets, all these things, have written or talked about coming to the point in their life where they wondered what was wrong with being Black because the world around them was showing them that resources weren't available, life was not the same, treatment was terrible, communities didn't look the same. So to ask that question, and what I really appreciated and what did a lot for me was my children saying to me um, that they learned the question wasn't what was wrong with them because there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. They are majestic and magnificent in their Africanity. Uh, but the question is, what is wrong with the society that we live in? What is wrong with the people um, who think they are superior out of their fear or inadequacy or whatever it is? So that shift was monumental. They haven't, their questioning didn't become one of personal value. It became, what is wrong? There's something in the water here. And what is it in here? And then to be able to diagnose what those things were and to be able to look at it historically and to look at what history indicates for the future and what their part is in playing a different role. That is marvelous. And so after, I think I've said that a few times, but I hear that song in my head. Um, After a while, the concerns that our parents had um, turned into pride in the children's accomplishments and how they speak and the things that they ask for, and in the fact that they're still receiving a lot of the things that our family was looking for them to receive in public school. I remember the day that uh, my 17-year-old was cutting her frog at the dining room table for biology, and how excited her uncle and grandma were that it looked similar to something they had seen or experienced in high school. The fact that my uh, that all the children have moved forward in leaps and bounds, studying things that are usually not given to their age set. That our 60-year-old graduated high school and headed off to college, completely capable, and is doing a big up job. So, baby, if you ever see this, we are immensely proud of you. So all of those things, but that was another thing where it was like this decision you're making. Um, we don't quite know how that's going to turn out. Are you wasting your education? Speaking of me, will they get the education that they need? Speaking of the children, and on all counts, it has been a resounding yes, above and beyond. Everybody's out here flying. For the last video, was the bird singing. Now it's the butterflies and the wasps and the some singing and pollen. Um, anyway, so again, uh, trust your gut, trust your heart, trust your mind, trust your spirit, uh, and in all of that, with the fear that may have been coming from our parents, there was affirmation and support coming from other elders, coming from um, contemporaries who were moving their children in the same direction. So, not to say you gotta go this road alone, because, like as I shared with you before, as you continue to walk, those who are walking alongside you show up and manifest themselves, and they manifest their callings as well. So, this is Reverend Akompo Walimu, Sister Mama Adia, saying, trust your gut, trust your heart, trust your spirit, trust your mind, and I'll see you soon. All right, peace.